Hello everybody, this is DeanoGTO, and today we're going to be looking at the T-34-3, the Chinese premium medium tank, which is available from the in-game tech tree. So, when and how did I get this tank? So, I got this tank a couple weeks ago now, like whenever the special event was going on for the 30% off tier 8 premiums. I figured like this is probably going to be the only time I actually have time to really actually get one of these, and it's going to be like the only time this thing is actually a reasonable price. Because if you didn't know, one of the serious issues, in my opinion, with the T-34-3 is the pricing. The pricing is pretty extreme, honestly, in my opinion, because if you look at vehicles like the Super Pershing, Panther 88, and things like the CDC, things like that there, you'll notice that they're significantly cheaper than the T-34-3. And I'm really not entirely sure why that's the case. The T-34-3, I think it's probably because it's like a premium matchmaking vehicle, but if you think about it, that doesn't really make much sense either, because the Super Pershing is also a premium matchmaking vehicle, and that thing also costs like 7,000 gold instead of 11,000 gold. So, yeah, it's kind of strange, but I don't really know what to say about that. But yeah, starting off the game, took one hit from the T-25 pilot and took 500, got 500 spotting damage on the Scorpion G. So, something I actually should just mention about this vehicle is it does have premium matchmaking, but the gun's only 175 pen. It's not like things like the Super Pershing that got like penetration buffs as time's gone on. This thing basically gets the same gun as the IS-6. It just the main difference is this thing is a much more mobile platform. Scorpion G, I just took a massive hit from that guy. He did a shit ton of damage to me in one shot. Pretty much took off like half my remaining health in a single hit. So that's pretty bad for my chances in this game. But I don't know what was up with me in this game. But for some reason I had just like balls of steel for some reason, and just like went like, screw it, I don't give a shit. I'm going to be able to play as aggressively as I want to. Don't care about my health. And yeah, it's just kind of funny on that. And I was about to like mention like how this gun can be random as hell sometimes and just will not hit where you're aiming, but I had two half-aimed shots, and I just kind of fired, hoping for the best pretty much, and got lucky twice in a row, killing that T-25 pilot and removing him from the game. And I imagine that guy's probably pretty pissed because he knows this thing's 100. He probably knows this thing is like basically 122mm derp gun, because that's essentially what this is. And then it's took a huge shot in the CDC. CDC attempts to rush me, but I managed to get my hull behind the cover just in time to avoid getting hit. And something I should just mention about this thing's hull: this is not a Type 59 hull. A Type 59 hull actually has some durability and the ability to take some hits. It's not as good as it once was back in the day, but it still has the capability of taking some hits. This hull is not like that. It has 90 front armor and 50 side armor. This could potentially change in the future, but I'll get into that during like a lull in the action a little bit later. But yeah, this thing's armor as it is right now is not particularly strong, and even though you would suspect the turret could be potentially very strong, from my experience this turret seems to be kind of random with how effective it is. And yet another extremely lucky shot where I just like snapshot completely and kill off the Borsig. And Love has moved forward again to try and kill off one of these guys. Both of them are one hits, so Love all you need to do is hit these guys because they have no armor whatsoever and they're really low health. And the Borsig just killed off the IS-3, which is not great. At this point we are actually losing 2-4. Which isn't great, honestly. Like, and we have an M41 Bulldog, which I actually hadn't initially noticed, to our flank, and I'm going to head over here to try and like potentially get behind this guy and get a shot into him, and do some good damage to him. Because a light tank later in the game, if it's on full health, those things can make or break a game, depending on the health they have. So if you're able to take off like half a light tank's health, like this thing is like able to take off like probably about a third of a light tank's health in one shot. You probably should try. You should probably attempt to, because well, that will probably make a pretty significant difference in the late game to what that guy's actually able to do. And I'm actually going over here trying to look for where it is, but this is like the lull in the action I was talking about. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to talk about the potential buffs that the Chinese mediums could potentially be getting in the future. So the 59 Patton, the tank I would not recommend to my worst enemy, because that tank is basically it takes like the best part of the, oh well, no, never mind. I was about to say it takes like the best and worst parts of two different tanks, but That's not really the case, but actually, I think I took too long, and actually, I'm gonna pause this here because this bit here is kind of fun, and I kind of want to like make sure I'm focused on it. But I'm just gonna go over the changes that could potentially be happening, and I'm going to leave a link in the description to these changes so you can see them for yourself. These are leaks; these are not confirmed, but they look like they're confirmed because they are actually done in like the wargaming format. So let's go through these. So the 59 pattern, I don't buy a 59 pattern. By the way, I should just put that out right now. Even though it's getting this buff, do not buy a 59 pattern. That tank has pretty much got the biggest turret weak point in the game. It's huge. It makes the M449's turret weak point look small. That's how huge that thing's turret weak point is. So that thing's a terrible tank, and it can't even go hull down the way you would want to. But it's getting the penetration buff from 190 to 212, and a lot of people are speculating because that's a 90mm gun that it could potentially that buff could potentially carry over to things like the M46 Patton KR and the Super Pershing. But I really hope it doesn't because, well, that would kind of ruin the playstyle and it would make those tanks be a lot more campy than they really are right now. So let's see, because like tanks for higher penetration, if you haven't noticed in this game, tend to like hide behind their allies until like and stay at longer ranges because they have the higher penetration. That's just my experience at least. So yeah, but even with that buff, don't buy 59 pattern. It's a terrible tank, and it will make tier 10s unlike this thing. So onto the T-34-3. The armor is going to be improved, and now it's identical to the Type 59's armor. So it's going to have 100 front armor, 80 side armor, and 45 rear armor, with 200 front turret armor, 130 turret side armor, and 60 turret rear armor. So it's now going to have pretty much identical armor to the Type 59. The model does look different from the image I can see here, so it's not going to look exactly the same. Type 59 does look a lot, honestly, probably nicer in my opinion, but the T-34-3 is going to get a significant boost in armor because I mentioned earlier that the armor's kind of crap right now, but with this buff, that could help this thing massively. So let's just go on to the Type 59 itself. So the stabilization of the gun has been improved by 30%, and that will allow it to be a bit more consistent in terms of like firing, and the gun bloom is not going to be as bad. Dispersion on the move was decreased, which makes it a bit more accurate, and the turret rotation dispersion was decreased as well, making it a little bit more consistent as well. And the aiming time was reduced by 0.6 seconds, which is a huge buff considering that thing has 7 degrees gun depression and a pretty damn solid turret. So yeah, like the one thing I would point out there is the Type 59 does get 7 degrees gun depression. T-34-3 only gets 5, and I don't expect that to change with the armor changes that the T-34-3 is receiving because the 122mm gun is significantly bigger than the 100mm gun that the Type gets. So yeah, I'm expecting the gun depression to stay the same, but the armor buffs are going to be really nice for the playability of the T-34-3. So yeah, but one disadvantage to that is that now we're going to have 3 Chinese Tier 8 premiums with all exactly the same hulls. So yeah, that's a little. It's kind of like ruins the different playstyles a little bit, but I think it's overall probably going to be a good buff for this tank because this tank does feel extremely fragile at the moment. So yeah, I'll leave a link to the description about this. So yeah, you can read about that if you want to. Take a snapshot off at the Scorpion G. I'm continuing with the gameplay, by the way. Take a snapshot at the Scorpion. Try and go forward and see if we can get another shot into him. Don't see him. And the M41 chooses this moment now to move forward and try and kill me. And I immediately take advantage of the overmatching that this gun can do, and track him in place instead of letting him shoot me any further. And here at this point, I am a one-shot kill for this guy, and this guy gets pretty unlucky and he misses. He bounces one shot and misses, I think, 2 shots, and now he is extremely low health, and he reverses track. And oh my god, I got unbelievably lucky there because that guy, if he was using the top gun, he low rolled by about 40 damage, and if he had a high rolled just a tad with the 170 damage gun, he would have killed me in one shot. But because he got unlucky, I survive and he dies. So yeah, that was extraordinarily lucky for me. And now there's a 112 here. I'm going to be very, very careful about moving forward. I actually hadn't realized Scorpion G had died at this point, but I was still kind of worried about the VK100 because if he was moving down towards the middle, then that would mean he could get side shots on me if I did decide to move forward. And here you're seeing like the really long reload on this tank. Overall, the gun is pretty fun to use, but the reload is extremely slow. It really is really slow. I think it's like 4 rounds a minute or something like that there, but it does have premium matchmaking, so I suppose that's pretty forgivable. And I'm wondering like if they're going to do a 112 with this thing, and whenever they buff it, are they going to remove it from the tech tree and then put it back in later? Because that's what they did with the 112. If you didn't know, they buffed it massively and then removed it from the tech tree in the same patch. So. Or like they actually no, that's not what happened. They removed it from the tech tree the patch prior, and then they buffed it massively after, like the next patch after that. So yeah, it was a wee bit of a dodgy thing they did with the 112, but I suppose it's because they didn't want to make it too overpowered. But even now, that tank's still relatively easy to kill. And let's see, so moving forward, going to try and see if I can get a shot in this VK100. Couldn't get a shot into him, and here I get pretty lucky because my experience dealing with IS-6s, that shot probably about 70% of the time probably would have bounced, honestly, with 175 pen. Because the angling on the sidearm of the IS-6, I think he straightened out a little bit more just as I fired my gun, which allowed me to actually penetrate that. And here I'm going to continue with my just balls of steel policy in this game, and just continue just bombing around the map, even though I'm on 45 health and can die basically by either of these tanks basically like tapping me. Like that's all it would take really to kill me at this point. But you see how this game changed. Like we were down 2 tanks at one point and we were losing, but because the enemies decided to push the west instead of pushing the east, they lost this game. I think if they had pushed the east instead of the west, they could have won this game. But never push the west on this map if you're attacking. Pushing the west is just not a good thing to do. You have to cross the bridge of death over there. This bridge and this area here, trying to cross this area when there's all the tank destroyers camping in this area here is just suicide. If you can possibly avoid crossing that area, you want to avoid crossing that area, because that area is just a gigantic pain in the ass to really deal with. But right now I'm on 3,500 damage, 1,800 spotting damage, 780 damage blocked by armor. And I just spotted the last guy and track him with my first shot, which was a bit unfortunate, but hopefully I'm going to be able to reload and try to get the kill on him. And some like other people are trying to get a couple of shots into him. Scorpion G gets a huge shot into him, gets some spotting damage, and I finish him off there for 227 additional damage. So I could have, well, actually thinking about if I got my first shot in and it had done damage, the Scorpion would have gotten the kill there. But yeah, I probably would have gotten a little bit more damage if I had penned that first shot. But yeah. Overall, that was a pretty damn solid game. I'll probably talk about the tank in a little bit more detail in the post-game results screens because, well, I feel like that's a bit more of an appropriate time to really go into detail on the tank itself. Like, I was about to start going into detail there, but yeah, I'm going to leave it here for now. I'm going to go on to the post-game stats. So I'll see you in a wee minute. Okay, so we're back with the result screens. So let's just look at the first result. So that was an ace tanker game for the T-34-3, 94,000 credits made, 8,265 XP, but you'll see in the bottom left that was because there was the mission that I got with the package that I bought. Like I bought the base package, but even though the base packages for these things here during the 30% off thing came with some missions that would give you extra XP for a while. I actually hadn't realized that there until this game, honestly, until I saw the XP total and was kind of surprised by it. So no epic medals of any sort, so yeah, like it was still a pretty decent game, just no epic medals to really make it stand out or anything like that there. So pretty much everything with this screen. So let's go on to the next screen, or to the team score even. So for that game I came top of the team in terms of damage and a pretty significant difference in terms of the XP totals. I mean, I got 1,653 base XP, and the next best in my team got 957. Even though our damage totals are very similar, what I suspect happened there is because I was at really close range the entire time. The entire time it was that I did damage. I was at less than 300 meters. I suspect a lot of that is due to me basically spotting for myself instead of having someone else spot for me, if that makes sense. So I didn't like. Whereas the DeanoGTO-3 is a very support-like vehicle. It needs to stay at range. T-34-3 in some scenarios can't play at point blank range pretty much, and that means that it doesn't get the penalty pretty much of like having to split the XP with someone else. So I suspect that's probably part of it, and also probably because I got some assistance damage and I got 3 more kills. So I'm suspecting that most of that there is due to the close range and to the kills that I got so much XP. So yeah, and so I'm actually just looking at the enemy team here. The highest damage in person on the enemy team was the Scorpion G. The highest XP though was the Leva, but on the enemy team though, there wasn't really any outstanding games. Just pretty reasonable tier 8 game for the most part for most of them. But on my team, something interesting that I noticed when I was looking back on this is the top half of our team is primarily consisted of tank destroyers. There were 5 tank destroyers, 2 mediums, and 1 light tank in the top half of the team. And yeah, that's kind of bizarre. You don't see that too often from my experience. You don't see tank destroyers dominating the top half of the team score too often. So yeah, so that's a pretty good job for those guys. Let's go on to the actual detailed report. So I fired 19 shots in that game, 14 direct hits, 12 penetrations, 3,769 damage, 10 shots received, 5 penetrations and 5 non-penetrations. So 1 more hit and I would have actually received a top gun, or not top gun, idiot, steel wall. Don't know why I said top gun. That was, but yeah, I think what I was thinking of 1 more kill. I would have got a top gun, 1 more hit, and I would have gotten a steel wall. Because I think it's 11 hits and minimum potential 1,000 damage. So if I had bounced like 1 more shot, maybe off the T-25 pilot or something like that there, I could have potentially gotten a steel wall. So that's interesting. 2,222 assistance damage, which is pretty solid. And when you actually look at the credits here, you see the massive difference that premium account could potentially make. Like, I wasn't running the premium account for this game. I made 94,000 credits, but after the resupply cost for the ammunition, I didn't fire a single premium round, by the way, in this game. And after resupplying, and after repairing the vehicle as well, I made only 66,500 credits. So about 30,000 credits pretty much was used just resupplying and repairing the vehicle. Whereas with the same game with premium account, I would have made 113,000 credits, nearly a 50,000 credit difference. So that's pretty damn huge, honestly. And yeah, and when you look at the XP totals, it gets even more ridiculous. I mean, a 4,000 XP difference by the end of it, whenever you take into account the mission that was active and all. And yeah, I'm going to pretty much finish this off here, pretty much because like person next door decided to start hoovering, and that will probably be picked up by the mic. So yeah, let's try and finish this off here now. Quick question just want to ask is, what are your opinions of the Chinese medium tanks in general, and what are your opinions on the Chinese premium medium tanks specifically? Like, for me, the most part, I do like the Chinese mediums for the most part, but they're not very popular because they're just awkward in general. Like the WZ-120, I suspect is like the primary one that people don't really want to play because it's just known for being really awkward because of that 122mm gun with 3 degrees of gun depression, and the people don't really want to deal with that shit anymore. Like that used to be like a special, pretty much like skill, pretty much for the Chinese mediums, but these days that's not really something people want to deal with. So I suspect that may potentially get a buff in the future, but no real promises are not there. And something I should just mention about the leaks I read to you earlier, those are leaks, those are not guaranteed to come to the game. And yeah, like just don't go out and buy one of these things hoping that those updates happen immediately. Like there's no guarantee they'll come anytime soon. Those are just super test leaks, and there's a lot of super test leaks that never actually come to the game. Like that French tank destroyer, the tier 8 one, was leaked. I don't know how long ago. It was probably leaked about 3 months ago now, and the French tier tank destroyer has premium has still not made its appearance in the game. So yeah, who knows when that's going to come out. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below, and I think that's pretty much everything. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.